features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
It's a windy winter's afternoon and the Kudu seem to be enjoying a late lunch on this Friday. This is Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
Five, four, three, two, one. You are live. You are live.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our sunset safari on, well, a windy Friday afternoon. Hopefully it will be an epic feline Friday as we go in search of all of the wild and wonderful things in Africa. In particular, it'd be nice if we could find some of the felines to complete our feline Friday. Now, my name is Tristan. On camera today I've got Sebastian, and like I said, we are going to be out and about for the next 3 hours, which means that you, the viewer, are the most important part of this process. So remember, you can get hold of us on Twitter, #SafariLive, should you have any questions, or if you have any comments or would like to just say hello from wherever you are in the world. It's always lovely to hear from all of you. Now, I was saying that it is Feline Friday, and we were going to see if we can't find a feline somewhere, but we've got very sidetracked with our beautiful kudu. Now, a kudu is one of my favorite antelope. The females are a little bit on the drab side with coloration, but the males have the most incredible set of horns, and that coupled with the fact that they are really large antelope with these massive ears, one can't help but sit and spend time watching them. So I really do get sort of quite drawn in by a kudu. I don't know why, I always have enjoyed watching them, and I remember when I was a kid they were my favorite antelope to see. And you can see this little one, well, not little one, big adult female, is having her lunch. She's regurgitating balls of cud to be able to chew them and get the maximum nutrients out of them. So while it's still quite warm this afternoon, that's what they're going to be doing. They're going to be spending time in the shade. Now I'm going to head off towards Treehouse Dam, see if I can't find any signs of any animals having a little drink at Treehouse Dam itself. And I believe Byron is also out and about this afternoon, so it's the boys' drive again, and I'm sure there will be lots of antics coming out of Wendy this afternoon with Byron. So let's go across to him so he can say good afternoon to all of you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Byron, and on camera with me this afternoon is Craig, otherwise known as Batman. Now, Tristan, you are correct. I'm going to try and fill this drive with antics this afternoon. I don't know what we're going to do yet, but I feel like we need to have some fun. It's a Friday, it's a beautiful Friday. Wherever you are in the world, I hope you're all having a great day or the start to a day. And we're going to try have some fun this afternoon. Now, I have been asked by some friends to try find buffalo firstly. Now, we haven't seen buffalo for quite some time, so it's a tall order, but I will try my best. I think I'm going to head down towards Chitwa Dam. Maybe we have some luck, have some elephant in that area. We're going to drive around there and see what we can find. But it is a really, really nice day. It's actually quite cool. There's a chill in the wind at the moment, or in the air. Chill in the wind, chill in the air. That's what I meant. So, but it is it's still a very nice afternoon, pleasant afternoon. The girls have the day or the afternoon off. The girls are resting, and yes, Chantal was just saying that it's about 76 degrees Fahrenheit or 24 degrees Celsius. So it is slightly cooler than what we are used to, but still very pleasant for winter. We really can't complain at all. Okay, well, we'll see what we can find for you. I'm going to try and get off this corrugated road, but while we do that, let's head back to Tristan, who's got those beautiful kudu.
Well, our beautiful kudu are just making themselves more beautiful. There's a little bit of grooming going on, making sure the hair is brushed and the coat is in good condition for a Friday night out on the town. So our kudu are definitely, the ladies are prepping for a afternoon of, well, attracting males, I would imagine. Although most of the kudu by now probably would have mated. You'll find a lot of them give birth around the summer months, so their gestation period would have meant that they would have mated a little bit earlier in the year, so around March, April. That would have been the time that we would have seen, although with kudu you will find them actually sometimes giving birth throughout the year. Being browsers, they generally find food at any time. They can find food even in the winter months. There's some of the trees here that still provide nutrients for them, and so they do give birth at random times of the year, but the most concentrated amount of young is in the summer periods. Now, interestingly enough, I said I was going to head to Treehouse Dam, but I've got stuck with my kudu because there's not often that you actually see them right out in the open like this. Kudu generally, when they are around vehicles or any sort of noise that they're not sure about, they'll try and get themselves into somewhat of a thick area so that they can camouflage. They've got this beautiful colored coat that blends perfectly in amongst foliage and vegetation, and you'll have a system where they can actually hide around that sort of object that's causing the disturbance. So to see them right out in the open and actually to watch them gracefully walking around is quite special. So I'm quite enjoying watching our kudu moving around in the afternoon sun. So Pisces, Bobby, you're commenting on those ears, and it is one of the most striking features of the kudu family, well, kudu in particular. Nyala and bushbuck do have big ears, but the kudus are really massive, and they'll use those to be able to hear. Remember, these guys, as I was saying, are spending a lot of time in thickets, and thickets mean that there's not an opportunity to see very well. It's difficult to spot things like leopard and lion in dense, thick foliage, and so those massive ears are vitally important to the kudu's survival. You'll find that they'll use those ears to scan almost like a big satellite dish, and those will pick up all kinds of sound waves, and they'll be able to determine what's going on around them just by listening. So vitally important, but they do make them look a little bit comical from time to time. They look far too large for the animal's face, so quite nice to see these guys out and about. Right, Seb, I think let's carry on and see if we can't find a male here somewhere. So Francis in Israel, before I leave our kudu, I'm going to just try and pull up to one on the side here, and so we can show you what Francis is asking about. But Francis is asking about the hump on the back of a kudu. Now there's one that's actually standing broadside to us at the moment, and you can see there's that big hump on its shoulder area. Now Francis, it's not like a camel where it will store fat and be able to then use that, but it is what it is a big muscular section. So kudu are notoriously good jumpers, and to be able to jump you need a huge amount of muscle, and because they're very large animals, their power needs to all come from that shoulder area, so there's huge big muscles attached there, and that causes a little bit of a bump in the back as those muscles bulge from their shoulders. A little bit like Byron when he's driving around and flexing his muscles, and which he likes to do around camp all the time. So similar situation, but that's what they'll use to be able to propel themselves out of danger. It's also why these guys are one of the hardest animals to actually keep in game reserve areas, so places that, unlike the Masai Mara, that are not fenced. There's a lot of places here in South Africa where kudu are kept on private pieces of land that are fenced off, and they're notoriously tough to keep in because of their ability to jump so high. They reckon that these guys can clear over 2 meters high from a standing start, which, when you think about the size of this animal, to be able to clear that is pretty impressive. So there's just a big, massive muscle that they have around their shoulders. And she's just having a little groom of her leg. See how those ears pick up movement straight away. So there's another kudu that just walked off on our left-hand side that rustled the grass, and you'll find that as soon as there's a rustle in the grass, all of them perk up their ears and they'll listen very carefully to what's going on. Now we're going to head off to Treehouse Dam. Like I said, we've enjoyed our kudus, and we're going to leave them to themselves so that they don't get too stressed out about us sitting here for too long. And while we do that, maybe Byron will show his muscular back for all of you so you can see just how he's been gymming today.
No, Tristan, no. Now have a look just ahead of us. There's some baboons quickly. Before, I don't know if Tristan is saying that I've got a hump on my back like the kudu, or anyway, Tristan, no, there will be no showing of back muscles this afternoon. Well, not yet, at least. There you go, nice troop of baboons. It looks like they've come down to drink, and they're just moving away from the dam at the moment. Actually, there's some just on the opposite bank. You see them moving there, Craig? Do you want me to try and move forward a little bit? They seem quite skittish. Hold on a second. Let's try and get a better view for you. Always nice to see the baboons. A lot of people enjoy seeing the baboons, so they are fun to watch at times. I think if you work in the lodges, they can be a nuisance because they do cause havoc at times, with destroying camps, looking for food, raiding mini bars. I've seen baboons eat an entire supply of malaria pills and drink every alcoholic beverage in the mini bar. So there's some interesting tastes of the baboon, I suppose. They'll go for just about anything. As long as it's sweet or looks like it's edible, they will try and feed on it. There we go, there's another one there. See, they're all moving away from us. They are quite shy. They're hiding in the drainage line at the moment. There was one on the other side. I'm not sure where they've gone now. They are quite skittish, which is interesting. Well, Jackie, the baboons definitely stay as a family. They do indeed. The troop is a large family group, I suppose. So you'd have mothers and fathers and aunts and uncles, if you want to give it those names, and brothers and sisters, and the troop generally are all quite related, but there is a hierarchy within the troop. And the funny thing with baboons is, within the hierarchy, you'd always have the dominant male. He will pick on a male below him, and that baboon will then pick on a male below him, and they basically make sure that they establish that hierarchy all the way through the troop until the poor person at the bottom gets, or the poor baboon at the bottom gets bullied. Much like camp, really, I'm the one that gets bullied by everyone. It's not fair. My self-esteem is low at the moment, but you know, what can you do? What can you do? Especially the girls in the final control. They're very, very harsh at times. Thank goodness James isn't here. He's one of the biggest bullies of them all. He always picks on me. See if I can start that rumor, stir the pot a bit. Alright, so I was saying my plan is to try and look for buffalo this afternoon. Buffalo and elephant. I think if I don't mention the cats, they might just pop out. So that's my plan and my theory. So we'll see, maybe we get lucky. I don't know what the temperature has changed. Someone has actually got quite warm now again. Put my jacket on because there was a chill in the air, but it's now warming up again, so I might have to take the jacket off. See if I can do that while I'm driving. These vehicles don't stay very straight on the road. There we go, multitasking at its best while talking and looking for animals. Who says men can't multitask? Am I right, Craig? Alright, so Craig, man of many words, he says he hasn't seen me find any animals yet, so fair enough, Craig, harsh but fair. So we'll try our best. Alright, well, we're going to carry on in search of some animals. I better find some before Craig shouts at me and bullies me. But let's head back to Tristan, who's arriving at the dam.
I have indeed, Byron, but I'm not convinced about the fact that Craig can shout at anyone. Craig is about the quietest member of our team, and well, Byron's voice, I'm sure, will outshine Craig's 9 times out of 10. But Treehouse Dam seems to be a little on the quiet side, bar our obligatory Egyptian geese and terrapins that are hanging about. Our 2 Egyptian geese are slowly floating on to the other side of the dam, as they do when we arrive. They often kind of move away from us a little bit. There's the heads of the terrapins poking out. Seems as though no hippo friend today, unfortunately, for the terrapins. They're going to have to wait for a while and to see if another hippo does arrive. I saw the tracks for the hippo that was in here going towards Twin Dams, and I think that's headed south from there towards the other Treehouse Dam, which is on Little Gari. The hippos do bounce around quite a bit from Treehouse to Twin Dams to Treehouse over here. So not too much going on at this stage. Like I say, our terrapins will be bobbing about as they do, and Byron always says it's like bobbing for apples with terrapins. They're kind of just sitting there close to the surface of the water like little apples floating. But they'll find that they'll just be absorbing the nice heat, and they'll be sitting in that top layer of water that will be in all likelihood a little warmer than the lower depths of this dam, and so better for a cold-blooded animal that relies on the warmth of the sun to be active, to stay in the top layers of water where it's a little warmer. Other than that, not too much. And now I was having a little chuckle to myself just now because Byron was saying that it was cold this afternoon, and I was thinking to myself, I'm sitting here in a kind of jersey vest type thing, and I was thinking that I was actually a little on the warm side, so I was just waiting for him to realize that his jacket was not going to be the best idea and have to then get it off while driving, which was quite entertaining. Now, there are leopard tracks here on top of vehicle tracks from yesterday. Seb, did you guys have leopard tracks here this morning? You did?
Yeah, there's a cat there.
Okay.
And there's a cat over there.
Cool. Well, so Seb is telling me that they did have these, but I'll show you guys anyway, for those of you that weren't watching this morning and you're not sure what a leopard track looks like. Seb, can you see these tracks here? Am I far enough away? Right, so you've got 2 tracks over here and 2 tracks at the back. So what happened is, I would imagine that this leopard walked across here and actually stopped in this direction. So the 2 front paws are next to one another. We can see the 3 lobes at the back. I'm going to try to get a piece of glass because my finger is actually making a shadow. So if we have 1, 2, 3 lobes at the back there, and then these little lobes that come forward with the nose box at the front. Now we know leopard. Now it looks like a young male to me. I would imagine that this must be for Hosanna. I don't think it can be for anybody else but him. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go check down towards Twin Dams. I'm not sure where these tracks went. I can actually see where somebody was tracking these tracks this morning, but it's possible that this cat is somewhere still here. They do often go towards Twin Dams in the afternoon, so we're going to try and see if we can't find him lying down somewhere there. I don't know if Byron actually checked Twin Dams yet, but we will check in that area. But these are on top of my vehicle tracks from yesterday morning, which I know is not a very fresh track, but at least it shows that there was a leopard moving around here. Yesterday I tracked Shongile from Treehouse Dam going northwards, but this is definitely for a young male, so I would imagine Hosanna more than anybody else. But I want to go check the quarry as well. He does sometimes go through towards the quarry itself. So it sounds like Byron did go to Twin Dams, but he didn't look for leopards. Oh, Byron. Naughty, naughty. I know he doesn't want to say the cat word, and hoping that they'll pop out in front of him, but you've still got to look for them, Byron. That's going to be my tip of the day to you. So hopefully Byron will be able to find one somewhere there. Maybe you might find that this leopard has gone south, though. We'll just check along towards Shabamu Pans. I doubt there's going to be any sign of that leopard there, just because of the fact that Shabamu Pans itself is dry now, so there's not too much of an attraction of game. And so you used to find that Hosanna Shongile spent a lot of time there because a lot of other animals would come in there, and it's a good place to concentrate their hunting efforts as young, inexperienced individuals. As they started to, go on in the winter and things have dried out, so they're starting to make use of Treehouse, Twin Dams, Gari Dam a little bit more in their pursuits for certain prey items. It also seems that both of them have now developed and become skilled enough to start taking on prey animals slightly larger than terrapins. So we've got a situation where our cats are not having to rely on small muddy wallows to get food. Now I'm trying to just sneak up on a bird. Hopefully it's not going to fly. Seb, can you see the little bee eater just on that small bush willow? So not this wattle close to me, the next tree back with some coloration. So there's a little bee-eater that's sitting just on top there. There it is. And one of our more brightly coloured birds for the winter months. Generally we find in summers most of our brightly coloured birds are around, but there's our little bee-eater. You can see those olive green wings, bright yellow throat, and a little light blue eye stripe. And you'll find them here all the time. I see this particular grouping of little bee-eaters here most days. As you come past Twin Dams and you head towards the westerly direction, they sit around on these dead trees and they hawk all kinds of insects from here. And their name bee-eater does suggest that they do hunt bees fairly regularly. Of course, that's not their only part of their diet. They will diversify onto any winged insect, butterfly, moth that they can get their hands on, or beaks on, should we say, because they don't have hands. Megan in FC. Now, Megan in FC, who is a vibey character, to use Megan's English, she is one of our, well, I would say probably one of the nicest people I've met in the world. She's such a nice person, and she's always got a smile on her face and is always entertained by everything that we do here, and she says that they are so pretty. Megan is also studying art and is in all kinds of ways interested in bright colors. And so it's always nice to see that Megs appreciates the wildlife. So Megs, I'm glad you enjoyed that bird. They are very pretty, and hopefully Megs will be able to see the more colorful bee-eaters if she hasn't seen them yet, because we do see the white-fronteds, the Europeans, and then my personal favorite, the carmine bee-eaters, which are that sort of rosy crimson color. I suppose that's actually not the best way to describe them, but they are a sort of light reddish color, and they are absolutely exquisite. So hopefully Megs will get to see those in the summer months. As we go towards summer, they should arrive in December. Now, he's going to be insufferable, but let's go across to Byron, because it seems he's been successful and found his buffalo, which we're never going to hear the end of. But let's go and see him gloat anyway.
Ah, look what we have found, everybody. 3 big buffalo bulls. Ah, isn't this just great? It's actually a lovely view of them. These are 3 old, or what are often referred to as Dugger boys. And Dugger is quite an interesting word. Now, the Dugger boys, which is a word or term used for these big old buffalo bulls, and Dugger comes from a Zulu word, umdaga, and that is a Zulu word for mud. And it's because these big buffalo bulls often like to wallow in mud. They like to roll around and basically cover their skin with mud. It helps protect their skin, helps cool them down, gets rid of ticks and fleas that sit on them, and that's why they have the name Dugger boys. You can see them chewing the cud there, so they've probably been feeding during the morning. They've come to get some water, and now they're just resting and chewing the cud, as ruminants do. Now, for those of you who are unsure what ruminants are, ruminant is an animal that has a 4-chambered stomach. So they basically chew or feed on grass or vegetation, swallow it, and then it goes into the first chamber of the stomach, mixes with enzymes and digestive fluid. They then regurgitate that food again, chew it, and then swallow again. This just helps break down the food very, very well. It's a very efficient digestive system, and buffalo are one of the largest ruminants that we have here. And with them chewing the cud like this, you can just see how efficient their digestive system can be. And especially if you look at the buffalo dung, it's broken down completely. It's not like elephant dung that's very coarse with a lot of plant material in it. It's really, really broken down, similar to that of cow dung or cow patties. Cow pat. But this is such a nice surprise. Wonderful big buffalo bulls. Great to see them. And you see those beautiful thick bosses. Now the boss is that middle horn structure that you can see there, and the males have got very thick bosses, and the reason for that is because obviously they use it for fighting and for dominance. But what happens, and what's interesting, is the buffalo bulls, they like to hang around in these small groups, especially the older bulls. And the reason for that is generally herds of buffalo will consist of the females and the younger buffalo, and obviously the offspring of the females. Now those herds can range from a size of 50 up to 500 buffalo. And the reason these buffalo hang around by themselves is those herds will cover huge distances, and they'll look for food and water, constantly moving around. So these old bulls are clever. They don't like to move around so much. So what they do is they'll find an area where there's food and water, and they'll hang around in that area, and they'll often move in small groups. Sometimes you can find a bull by himself. It's not unusual to find a bull by himself, and the reason they hang around together is obviously for safety. But these bulls, they're the ones who got quite a bad reputation in the bush. They're quite aggressive and also quite unpredictable. Now, if you ask me, if I'm doing a bushwalk, these are the guys that I'm more cautious of than any other animal. If I bump into a buffalo, I try to be very, very careful. You should be careful with all animals, but I usually try and get out of that area quite quickly and not test the buffalo too much. You can view them on foot, don't get me wrong, you can definitely view them on foot, but be very, very cautious, because the buffalo can be quite, as I said, unpredictable. But isn't it so good to see these big bulls? So these bulls will probably hang around this area. Now, Deadhead Tom, you said, oh, it looks like the buff are back. Will the lions be close by? I'm not sure, Deadhead Tom. I mean, these buffalo bulls sometimes, they could have come in maybe just from Buffelshoek, from north of us, and that area is not too far. Any area where there's probably a big dam, and maybe they just moved around during the course of the night. These big bulls would be quite difficult to hunt. Now, they look like they are in very good condition. They look very muscular. Even though they look old, you can see a lot of hair missing around the faces and that's from a lot of the flies, these biting flies that they basically bite the skin of the buffalo. They lose a lot of hair on their face, but if you look at them, they do still look very muscular, and they are so powerful. So I don't think the lions in this area would necessarily just try to take on 3 buffalo bulls. Last year, the lions did very well at hunting buffalo, but the buffalo were very weak. They were not in great condition because of the drought. Look at that! Isn't that a lovely scene with that dust as they're all standing now? I don't know about you, but that's quite intimidating. Seeing these 3 big buffaloes standing, horns out. If I was a lion, I'd think twice about going for them. Pisces Bobby, you say these are massive. They are indeed. You can see they also have quite prominent dewlaps. These big bulls just under their chin. There's a nice view of that one there. It's got quite a low-hanging dewlap, and that again also a sign of age. But we're speaking about back muscles. Have a look at the muscles on this buffalo's back. If you have a look there, he's got quite a serious hump and some serious muscle, and quite hairy too. Looks a little bit like Tristan's back. Oh dear, he's probably going to beat me for saying that. I am only joking, of course. Craig's trying very hard not to giggle behind me. Yes, Jackie, so a good question. You asked if they still mate. They do indeed. So Jackie, what these bulls, sorry, I didn't actually get to that. The bulls, even though they split away from the herd and they hang around in small bachelor herds like this, if the herd comes past again, these old bulls are clever. They'll just wait for the herd, wait for the females. If they come past or pick up on their scent or sound, they'll go and meet up with the herd and challenge the younger bulls in the herd, chase them off and try mate with the females for a day or two, and then they'll move off again. So they do definitely still mate. These males are probably more dominant than some of the males in the herd. You do still get probably 2 or 3 big dominant males that move around with the herd. But if these guys meet up with those younger buffalo, they're just too big and powerful and wise, I suppose, for those younger bulls. But that's a great shot. Look at those 2 massive buffalo. I've got a lot of respect for buffalo. I do enjoy them because I think because of their temperament, and I don't know, it just appeals to me. I do enjoy them. And have a look at the horns on this one closest to us. You can see how the horn actually curls slightly back. Some seriously sharp horns. And you know, the buffalo have been known to kill lions when lions are trying to hunt them. Those horns can do some serious damage. I've seen footage of them throwing lions up into the air. I've seen buffalo turn and chase a pride of lions into a tree when the lions are trying to hunt them. See the oxpeckers sitting on the buffalo too. Oxpeckers often on buffalo. Tina on Safari, you asked who would win a fight between buffalo, rhino and hippo. I would have to say rhino. I think the rhino just much bigger, definitely more powerful than a buffalo. They've got that sharp horn. Hippo, I don't know. Hippo's much bigger than a buffalo, but I don't know, Tina. This one's coming a bit closer to us. That's great. I just think, if that had to happen, that's highly unlikely though. Those animals, being herbivores, generally don't challenge each other, don't really worry about one another. However, I think I did see footage of rhino attacking buffalo before, and the reason for that is because I think in newer game reserves that have been established fairly recently, they introduced animals into those areas, and sometimes there's almost like a dominant challenge between these animals because they're in a new area. Possibly some of them came from areas that they didn't see any of the other herbivores, like the rhino or the buffalo. So it's not necessarily a natural system, because it is unnatural for them to harm each other. There's no reason for them to challenge one another or attack one another. But I have seen it happening before. But I think it's in those less established game reserves, new game reserves where animals have been introduced. So it's a bit different. In the wild, in these areas like the Greater Kruger, I haven't really seen or heard of it happening very often, if at all. I've heard of elephant chasing and pushing away some animals like buffalo and rhino, but generally it doesn't happen. River, age 9. Hello, River. Lovely to have you with us on Safari Live. Now, you asked, are the buffalo bigger than bison? Now, River, if I'm not mistaken, I think the bison are slightly bigger than the buffalo. I'm not sure of the exact weight. Maybe some of our American viewers can let me know. If you wouldn't mind trying to Google the weight of a bison, I would guess a bison might be over a ton, maybe 1,200 kilograms, I think. And a buffalo is about 800 kilograms. I'm not sure though, so I'm curious. If any of you have got an idea, please send us the answer to that, what a wild bison would weigh. I am interested. I'm not sure, but I think the bison are a bit bigger than the buffalo. Although I think the temperament of the buffalo is probably a bit more aggressive than that of the bison. This is such a treat. I haven't seen buffalo for ages. Justin, I'm not sure. I don't know. You see, Billy Connolly actually does this wonderful skit about animals in Africa, and in the skit he says there are no mirrors in Africa, so these animals don't know what they look like. So there are no mirrors out here. I don't know how a buffalo would react to a reflection. Never seen it look in the reflection of anything. So I don't know. I don't know. No mirrors out here. There's an old saying that the buffalo look at you as if you owe them money, and I think that's quite an appropriate saying. Jenny animation, you say they've got evil eyes. Yeah, Jenny, I don't know if it's evil, but the other thing is they give you a look. If they do feel a bit threatened, they lift their head back slightly, so they're almost looking at you down their nose, and they lift their head straight up and back, and that look is a look that I think can send most people running. It is quite intimidating, but yeah, I think that phrase that they look at you as if you owe them money, I think that's quite a funny one. This is a nice treat. They're nice and relaxed. It looks like that one at the back is probably the largest. I'm not sure. Just having a look at, he's got some serious shoulder muscles. Look through that gap between these two. Oh wow, okay. So, sorry Chantal, who said that? Who gave us that answer? Karen, thank you very much for your answer. So, I'm wrong. Like I said, I've never seen a bison in real life. But you say a mature bison bull will only weigh around 2,000 pounds. So, 2,000 pounds is about... it's about the same then, I suppose. 600 to 800 kilograms, I think. 900 kilograms. Maybe, yeah, okay, so maybe a bit more. So I was close. But a bison female will weigh much less, 1,100 pounds. So that's much less. Alright, but then I'm trying to think what a buffalo bull is. A buffalo bull, like I said, can get up to 800 kilograms. So 800 kilograms is about... That's 2.2, so about 1,800 pounds. So maybe just smaller than a bison. I hope my maths is correct. Please feel free to check me on that, but I think I'm right. Sandra, you asked how do they compare with American buffalo, but is that not the bison? I think the American buffalo is the bison, unless I'm wrong. But I don't think so. I think the American buffalo are the bison, as far as I know. You do get water buffalo in Asia. Yeah, so Sandra, it's the same thing. The American buffalo is the bison, Sandra. So just what we've been chatting about, the size and the weight. Now, there are Asian buffalo or water buffalo, but they are definitely smaller than the Cape buffalo. This is known as the Cape buffalo. The African buffalo is known as the Cape buffalo. Ali, these buffalo don't migrate at all. They don't need to. There's always food and water around for them. And as you know, in southern Africa, we don't really have migrations like they do in East Africa. Now, I'm not sure if those buffalo up in East Africa, I'm sure they do follow the migrations. The wildebeest and the zebra that migrate, and a lot of you have been seeing that on Safari Live. It's been wonderful having the Mara team up there. They've been working extremely hard, long hours trying to get you those footage of the migration. But I'm sure the buffalo know there are herds of buffalo that move and migrate with the animals up there. Here, though, it's not necessary. There's always food and water. That's why we don't have migrations around southern Africa, where we are. So, oh, well, we're right in South Africa, and so there's no migrations down here. And Tristan sounds like he's just taking a bit of a nap under a tree for a while, so you're going to have to stick with me, and maybe later he'd like to chat to you again. Tristan, he's always taking chances, really. See, as I said, I think there are going to be lots of antics this afternoon. Dennis, I don't know. Dennis, can I tell you, I'm so confused about the color scheme that animals see in. I'm not sure. I mean, I've read different stories of their eyesight. Their eyesight is very good. Definitely, their eyesight is good. I'm not sure what spectrum of color they see. It's like the predators, we assume, are more monotone as opposed to color. I don't know about the buffalo. I wouldn't be surprised if they seen color. I don't know. I never know. And they say they measure it through the amount of rods and cones in the eyes, but I don't know. So I'm not sure. I also wonder, how accurate are they with those studies? How do they really know what these animals see? I mean, I suppose the scientists know and study this stuff rigorously, but I'm not sure exactly what color scheme they see in. Right, well, it sounds like Tristan has woken from his slumber. Let's go and have a look and see where he is.
Well, Byron, I was having a wonderful time under the big jackalberries of the Mulawati, having a nice nap, and it was very pleasant, so thank you for holding things for a while. No, we were checking the Mulawati, and as is in the Mulawati, I forgot I'm in Rusty now and not Wendy. I haven't driven Rusty in so long that I forgot Rusty signal's not as good in the Mulawati as Wendy's is these days, so that's why we lost a bit of reception. But there's not much to speak of in the Mulawati this afternoon, no tracks that I could see. But I'm going to try and see if I can't equal Byron this afternoon and find buffalo of my own. That's what I'm going to try and do. I don't know where Byron's buffalo are, so hopefully I don't bump into his buffalo again. But imagine if we can both find buffalo. That will be a turnout for the books, considering how few buffalo we've actually seen at this stage of the game. I'll go check up towards Buffelshoek Dam and see if there isn't any of them hiding and lurking in that area. But we've checked towards Twin Dams, the sign of all of those baboons. There's generally a sign no leopard is around. The leopard tracks that I saw at Treehouse unfortunately have been driven over by all the vehicles from this morning, so difficult to say where those tracks actually end up going or what's happened to them. So I did a little loop around, checked the fire break to the south, nothing that I could see. So I'll go there a little bit later in case said leopard is just having a relaxing time in some shade somewhere, and we'll come out a little bit later. So that's the plan of action from that point of view. Now, I'm not sure if anybody's had any luck with Tundi and Tumba yesterday afternoon or this morning. I believe Taylor and Byron, I asked them both, they said they had tracks, but they actually didn't find either of them. So I wonder if they're not lurking somewhere here as well, and it's why I'm up near Vulture's Nest at the moment, partly because I want to go towards Buffelshoek Dam, and also partly because, well, I'm hoping one of them is sauntering down the road here somewhere. But it's been strange. I've been looking for birds this afternoon as well, and I felt like doing a bit of birding, and it seems as though it's a bit quiet on the bird front. I've seen very few birds around. I was hoping that we'd get quite a few around the Mulawati. There's often brown-hooded kingfisher in the Mulawati, and varying starlings and barbets and all kinds of other little birds that hop around in those thickets. But alas, this afternoon, very little. I do have some good news though, which I've just been reminded about now that I heard the radio going. For those of you that follow our leopards and wonder about all the leopards that we haven't been seeing too much of recently, given our traversing situation. So Quarantine, it sounds like, is mating. So Quarantine is trying to become a father of some little cubs. It sounds like he's mating with a female. No one knows exactly who it is. It was in Coral this morning and they were going north towards Torchwood. But if it is there, I would imagine my best guess, most educated guess, would be Nkanyeni. That's who I think she would be mating, or he would be mating with. But exciting times if the genes are spreading. Karula's genes carry on in the form of Quarantine and start to spread and go further. That's always a good thing. So it sounds like they're mating, and it's right up against the Kruger National Park boundary, so it could be a different female, but I'd be very surprised if it wasn't Quarantine, given that we know Butumi unfortunately is no longer with us. Seb, I think let's go past the dam cam quickly, just go that way, see if there's not any Ellie's tracks lurking around. I know there were a couple Ellie's around this morning. Riedel, you want to know at what age are leopards and other cats given a name? Now, sorry, I just thought I saw a track here on Hyena Road, so I was just having a little look, but my eyes deceive me. There is nothing there to worry about. So they are given a name generally when they reach a year old. That's for the leopards. Remember, with lions, the lions generally don't get individual names. They've been given IDs in terms of their pride, so as soon as they're born they're part of a certain pride, and if they're males that break off, a lot of the time you'll find that they are called the pride's name and then just add coalition at the end. So Birmingham males are a perfect example of that. They come from the Birmingham Pride, which is from the north of us in the Timavati, and the Birmingham Pride is from an area called Birmingham, and so when the males split off they became the Birmingham Coalition. So same as the Solala males or varying other males that are seen around in these areas, and that's where they get their names from. But leopards at about a year old is when they are started to give an ID kit. Now I see somebody was walking here. I just want to check who exactly it was and what they were walking after. Maybe they were following the tracks from Tandi and Tumba from this morning. It looks like it could be from that. There's lots of hyena tracks here, so we know that the hyenas were around from Tandi and Tumba when they had their kill in the big Jackalberry, which is not too far from where I am now, so that could be their tracks. But if somebody's walking here, it's generally a sign that they were looking for something specific. Now, I'm not sure if I've heard this correctly, but given the size of Byron's guns and the way that he's been gymming lately, it wouldn't surprise me if he's now decided to tangle with the buffalo and wrestle one and now hold it. But apparently he's holding a buffalo, so let's go across to him and see what's transpired.
Oh, they're quite heavy. No, I'm not holding buffalo, Tristan, don't worry. Gee, Tristan, you've got too much time on your hands. So we're still sitting with these buffalo. They slowly moving off. One decided to lie down again. I think they just decided to move into the shade. It is really nice and warm now this afternoon, and they're enjoying this little clearing close to the waterhole. Andrew, you asked if the buffalo bulls are territorial. No, Andrew, not necessarily. No, they're not. And I'll tell you why. I mean, as we spoke about the herds, they cover huge distances. They move around a lot, and so they're not territorial, but they will challenge each other for dominance. And basically the reason they do that is so that they can mate with the females, but they don't actively mark a territory, and they won't. These buffalo bulls will possibly stay in the area, and they'll possibly stay in these drainage lines. There is grass around, there's food for them to feed on, and there's water, so they'll hang around in certain areas for a while, but they're not territorial, not like some of the other animals, not like lion or leopard or rhino. We know are territorial too. They have middens that mark their territories. And hopefully one day we'll be able to show you some more of the rhino in the area. They are wonderful animals, and I think it may indeed help us a bit with more conservation for the rhino. In Riedel, I think the average lifespan of a buffalo is between 18 and 21 years. 18 and 21 years of age. That would be an average lifespan, or the length, or the lifespan of a buffalo, rather. It also depends. I suppose it depends. They'll probably live until they meet the Nkuhuma pride. But these big bulls, you can see they're quite old. I wouldn't be surprised if these bulls are in the age range of about 15 or 18 years old, somewhere around there. Monique in London, you asked what bird was on the ground at the buffalo, and I'm trying to think, was it the blacksmith? Yes, it's the blacksmith plover. Monique, it's running in the background. There it goes. A blacksmith plover, or blacksmith lapwing, rather. That's the new name, the blacksmith lapwing. And it gets its name, a blacksmith lapwing, because obviously being black and white, but also the sound of the call sounds almost like a blacksmith hammering away at a piece of steel. Don't worry, everyone, I can't do the call, so I won't subject you to that. But let me see if I can play it for you quickly, Monique. Just listen to this call quickly. I'll get it for you, and you can hear and see if you agree that it does sound like a blacksmith hammering away at a piece of steel. Blacksmith, there we go. Hear that? Yeah, I think so. There we go. So that's a theory. And it's calling back there. There's another one. It just came, and they're often around the water holes. Okay, now we're going to leave these buffalo. Let's carry on and see what else we can find this afternoon. I'm so happy we got to show you some buffalo. I haven't seen buffalo for quite some time, so let us get out of here. See, I wonder where I'm going to go. I'll decide as we move on. Let's head back to Big Boss Man Tristan and see what his plan is, and if he's found a leopard yet. I don't think so.
Well, you would be correct, Byron. Well done. You can see into my eyes and see that I'm scanning, but no leopard has been found. Not to say we won't find one. We will get one eventually. It's just a matter of time. We've just got to keep focused, and hopefully it will be much like you, Byron, and we'll stumble upon a leopard somewhere along the line. Now, of course, Byron will tell me that it was down to his immense skill, that he drove and he tracked those buffalo for hours on end, but we all know what the real story was. Now, just want to roll back, and Byron was saying it's so nice to see buffalo, and I was saying no idea buffalo. It would be a complete mystery to me as to when I last saw them. So really nice to actually hear that there are those three still hanging around. Hopefully they'll spend more time. The same ones we saw in the dam cam about a week ago. And it would be nice if they spent a little bit longer in this area. There's another reason why I've come up this way, is because while I was up here and I was thinking about buffalo and all kinds of other things, is that no real mention of the Nkuhuma pride. And if, well, buffalo are being seen, maybe it's worth just checking up onto this northern section, as well as the fact that it is burnt on this side, which means that the ground hornbills have been spending a lot of time. And today, while I was sort of between drives, I heard lots of ground hornbills calling. Did you hear that? There we go. So Seb is now telling me, and they were going crazy for a long time, so I think they were on quarantine. So I was just checking up this way if they didn't come and start to forage in this area. They like these burnt sections, much easier for them to find food, and so you find them often in burnt places. So that's why I was just coming to have a little look. But they were making a serious racket during the day today. I'm not sure if any of you actually heard them on the dam cam. I wouldn't be surprised if you did, because they were calling incessantly for a good hour, I would say. And it was really cool to hear. It's a sound that you normally associate with early morning or late afternoon. Don't hear it that often during the day. I'm scanning all these trees as well, because Taylor, this is where she said she had the last tracks for for Thandi and Tumba. Now you might have seen Seb's hand and my fingers and be wondering what on earth we are doing. It's because there was a spider web on the lens, apparently. So apparently it's still there. So Seb is going to sort it out. He's going to use a nice cloth and just wipe it down and get rid of that spider web. So I do apologize if you have seen a spider web and if you see a big hand with a cloth coming out. There we go. No, still there. What is going on? I don't know what that is. Yeah. Hold on, Seb. Let's have a look. No, there's something on the lens itself. Now it seems as though we've got a little stripe on the lens, and I don't know what actually that is. Seb? I think we might have to do a proper clean on that. That's not going to go away very easily. Now while I figure out how we all of a sudden got a massive streak on our lens that doesn't want to wipe off, well, we're going to figure out the mystery, and let's go across to Byron and see whether he's figured out where he wants to go and what his plans are for the rest of the afternoon.
Well, I think I'm going to head towards Buffelshoek Dam and then head south from there. That's my plan. While Tristan sorts out his smudge. Such a nice afternoon, really enjoyable. It's nice being out here. I'm so glad we got to see those buffalo, but we'll see what else we can find. Maybe we get some interesting birds. Maybe a bird of prey of sorts, or an owl a little bit later. I'd love to find a giant eagle owl or the Verreaux's eagle owl. At times we do get a lot of them around, and you hear them calling, and then you can often find them that way. But I haven't heard one calling for a long time, actually. I'm not sure where they're all hiding. Who knows, maybe we bump into a leopard like Tristan says. I'm confused by this question. Rashida, you asked, what is my dream combination of an animal? I need to think of that. I don't know. I think speed and agility of a leopard, probably. Speed and agility of a leopard, and the strength and wisdom of an elephant. Sound like, what was that old cartoon, Craig, that we used to watch? Braveheart. I don't know if any of you know Braveheart, or if any of you remember that old cartoon. You see, strength of the bear and speed of the puma, something like that, wasn't it? Craig, was that before your time, or do you remember that? Oh, it's before Craig's time. Just showing my age here a little bit. Maybe Sebastian, although I don't know, maybe Tristan might remember Braveheart. We'll see if he does later. He can give us his best Braveheart impression. That'll be great. See, some of you might be saying, yes, you remember that. Others might be thinking that Byron's lost it. This is true. This happens from time to time. Now for the next thing is to try find some elephant. That would be great and ideal. Alright, well it sounds like Braveheart has managed to clean his lens. Let's go and see what he's up to.
Byron, Braveheart. Now where does that come from? It baffles me as to the names that Byron comes up with. I don't know where he sits and thinks about these. I know that he watches a lot of movies at night, and this is what comes out of those.
He's not good with his actors.
He's not good with his actors, no.
Thinking of someone else.
Maybe he's thinking of someone else, you're right, Seb. That could very well be. Now, we've cleaned our lens, which is not thanks to me. That was all Seb's hard work. Seb got a little bit of lens cleaning solution out and did a little bit of rubbing and magic. It's all clean now, and I've come down towards the old hyena den just because sometimes Tundi and Tamba spend a bit of time down here. We've seen her here before and there's been tracks of her before, so I'm just checking around to see. What I also see is lots of tracks of elephants heading in a sort of southerly direction, which means that they are heading down towards Djuma Dam area. They don't look as though they're from right now, but they are from sometime today. They're on top of the vehicle tracks, and I know Taylor drove here this morning. Well, not this section, but she drove the section on Mvubu, and they're on top there as well. So I want to go around towards Galago Pan and just see if these Ellies are not hanging around on Galago Pan's side. Not sure if maybe they went to the dam today at some point. Maybe if you guys were watching the dam cam and you saw some Ellies, you can let me know, because otherwise I'll be wasting my time if I go and scratch around. But this little road is a sneaky one, because it's one that we don't check often because it leads nowhere and you've got to go back on yourself and kind of go back towards Mvubu. But it seems to be a thorough fare for all kinds of animals. I've found tracks for lions and leopards and elephants and buffalo that no one ever calls in because no one actually really checks here. So it would be nice if we can find these animals, and hopefully we will. Of course, we know that it's not always that easy. With elephants in particular, they sometimes, you'd think a really large animal like an elephant would be easy to find, but you'll find times where elephants just magically disappear. It's almost like they grow wings and just fly away. I suppose there is the movie Dumbo with his ears. Maybe they use their ears and fly away. Wouldn't that be something to see, an elephant flying overhead? It'd be quite something. I reckon if I had made up Father Christmas and made up the whole kind of scenario and with everything, I would have definitely had him with, not reindeer, I would have had elephants flying in front. What do you think, Seb?
Yeah, I agree.
Or lions maybe. Though the problem is he comes from the North Pole, and so the North Pole, none of these things occur here, so that wouldn't have worked. But woolly mammoths actually might have been something we could have used. I don't know. Maybe that's a good thing to discuss with all of you. Hashtag Safari Live, what do you think Santa's sleigh should be pulled by? What African animal? If we had to make an African Santa who would not be in a big red velvety coat, he would be in his vest and his shorts and his little flip-flops and his summer hat and sunglasses, what would his chariot be being pulled by? I'm going to go with, I think, flying elephants would be quite cool. Seb, you?
What dogs, eh?
Wild dogs. Wild dogs is a nice one, although I feel like the wild dogs would be too disorganized. They'd just go all over the place and the sleigh would not get anywhere it's supposed to go.
No, you train them.
You train them, okay, fair enough. Not that I think wild dogs can be trained, but or any wild animals should be trained, but if in the purpose of what we're talking about, it might be quite entertaining. Megan, you reckon the Nkuhumas? So Megan from Final Control, she reckons Nkuhuma Pride. Megan, I'm not sure about the Nkuhuma Pride. I feel like the Nkuhuma Pride, they've got all kinds of other things going on. What about the Birmingham boys? That would be a mean coalition to have pulling a sleigh. Now, we do have a bird, finally, that I can show you, because all the other birds have been moving off. And there is probably the most beautiful bird. There we go. Is a lilac-breasted roller. And they are like I say, common but beautiful. We see so much of them, but often when you live out here, you take them for granted a little bit because of their sort of how many you do see. Sometimes you forget just to look at the beautiful colors and take in the beauty of nature and realize that we are so fortunate that we get birds like this even in our winter months when it's drab and dreary, that we have things like the bee-eaters and the lilac-breasted rollers that just add a bit of color and splash to our lives and make things that much sort of vibrant, I think is the best way. Now, a lot of you are saying that you would think waterbuck would make a good sleigh puller, but I feel like waterbuck would be too close to reindeer. I feel like we need to make this a wild and epic adventure. So leopards to me would make no sense whatsoever because they're too on their own. Hard, you say ostrich. I quite like the idea of ostrich. I think that would be quite funny to see. I think that's actually quite a cool one. I think that's probably one of the better ones that we've heard so far. Be quite entertaining, although I don't know if that would fit into Santa's image of his big beard. Donna, you say leopard? Oh, Donna, it's going to have to be a superpower leopard because you're not going to find too many of them sticking together to be able to do it. What about hyenas? Hyenas would be quite funny, although I feel like they're not very jolly. That's the only problem. Although they giggle and they laugh, that would be quite cool. A little laughing hyena.
Freddy,
What?
flamingos.
Flamingos, Seb. Flamingos might be quite a cool one too. That would look quite cool. That would look very beachy. That would fit in with the summer vibe of Africa. At least that Santa can see far ahead. Fair enough. Good call. It would be quite a big chariot or sleigh that they would be able to drag around as well. If you think about the size of giraffe, they would definitely be able to pull something quite big. Enough to fit everybody's presents on, I would imagine. Now, where have my elephants gone? Because their tracks should come this way. These are all the tracks from elephants from the other day when we had all the elephants down at the dam camp, which was spectacular, and those are heading northwards. I'm looking for the tracks that are coming southwards, which should theoretically, up ahead is a path that comes from this northern side, and that's where I'm hedging my bet as to where these elephants would have come out. So let's have a look and see. Here we go. What are these tracks? No. Tula Ann, age 5. Hello, Tula Ann. I'm sure Byron's going to be very excited that you are saying hello. I know you've asked him to be your or boyfriend, should I say, because you will be his girlfriend, and you want to know, you think that our Santa sleigh should be pulled by little lion cubs. Well, I think that's a fantastic idea, Tula Ann. It would certainly be the cutest sleigh in town, and I'm sure Santa would get lots and lots of likes from that and make lots of kids very happy. So I think that's a fantastic idea, Tula Ann. Now, our elephant tracks have come out here and they are going straight towards this waterhole, but I see one vehicle has gone over them, so it makes me wonder, maybe, just maybe, they've already gone past here. So I'm going to go and check around towards Gallagher's shortcut, but you can see them just angling off towards the waterhole itself. So I would imagine that they must be somewhere close by. So while I try to figure out where they've gone, Tulan, let's go across to Byron, who I know is one of your favorites, and let's see what he thinks about the little lion cubs as a sleigh and what animal he would put on Santa's sleigh.
Tristan, we're in July. Why are you speaking about Santa and his sleigh? I must be honest though, if I had to think about it, I think Sebastian's onto something. Wild dogs pulling that sleigh, then Santa Claus, Father Christmas, he would he'd get around a lot quicker, definitely. Those wild dogs would take him everywhere. You just have to have one or two impala around to feed them. Now I'm still heading towards Buffelshoek Dam, also trying to find some elephant. Would be great if I found some elephant before Tristan. That cartoon character I was thinking about, it's Brave Star, not Braveheart. Braveheart was Mel Gibson and he shouted freedom a lot. There's quite a lot of elephant tracks around, but they don't look particularly fresh. Maybe from sometime. Now we've had of elephant move through the area, which has been great. It's lovely to have seen them in the last 2-3 days. Maybe we're lucky when we bump into a few. Also still trying to look for some interesting. Hopefully we can find a bird of prey or two. Haven't seen any bateleur around for a while. Now that I think about birds of prey, or tawny eagles, or martial eagles. Now, Ilana, you asked what is my favorite bird or my favorite bird call. Oh, Ilana, I've got lots. Just trying to have a look here. Sorry, I just see some elephant tracks. Trying to see which direction they're going, because they look quite fresh. Let's have a look down here, maybe. Ilana, favorite bird calls. One of my favorites that we hear during the day around here is the black-crowned shagra. Black-crowned shagra. It's got a beautiful call and sounds something like this. Something like that. I think it's pretty close. I'll try to play it for you and you can tell me, Lana, if I'm close or not. What else? The fiery neck nightjar. That's a lovely bird or lovely sound that we hear at night. No, wait. Something like that. That's my attempt at a fiery neck nightjar. No, there's the fresh elephant tracks around here. Where have these elephant gone? Just going to listen. But now, there's some waterbuck. We just got to Buffelshoek Dam. Just have a look here quickly. A nice group of waterbuck down at the bottom of the dam. Probably came down to drink. Beautiful light on them now. Alright, now if I don't send you across to Tristan, he's going to shout at me. Let's quickly go across to Tristan. I think he's going to be very happy. Look what he's found.
I'm not very grumpy at all, Byron. I'm quite happy to see another set of buffalo. I don't know when the last time we had two different groupings of buffalo on Djuma was, so I'm certainly quite stoked was probably a good word, or happy to see some buffalo bulls. And much like Byron, there are 3 of them, so maybe they come in threes, and hopefully this will be a sign that the buffalo are starting to make their way back to Djuma more permanently. It cannot be the same group of buffalo that Byron had. He was down near the south of the reserve. These are right up in the northern part, so they've come from Gallagher side and they're making their way slowly towards the Hyena den. Actually, they're going up towards Gallagher's shortcut side. It's really nice to see, and they're looking in great condition. It's a massive contrast to the buffalo bulls of last year. The buffalo bulls of last year in this time of the year were looking horrific. They were skinny and emaciated, whereas these guys are looking as powerful as possible. So you have big sort of shoulders and hindquarters. There's no ribs sticking out or hips like what we were seeing last year. Now, what's gotten your fancy there? Seems as though he's just turned around. Now, I know I said there are 3 of them and we can only see the one. The other 2 are hidden behind a little bit of a thicket, which I'll try and show you just now. These guys are all old boys. You can see big dewlaps. Are you going to have a little lie down here? No, I think it's onward. They're going to carry down into the drainage. And I was saying to Seb, this is an area that I've seen the Nkahuma pride a few times, and wouldn't it have been fantastic if we had driven through here and all of the Nkahuma pride had popped out with these buffalo? That certainly would have made for an interesting afternoon. You can see just easing an itch. Ooh, Stacy, you're asking how many dominant bull buffalo can be found in a herd. Well, Stacy, it's a little bit like how long is a piece of string. It just depends on how big the herd is and how many males are within the herd. Remember with buffalo is that they don't form a dominant structure in a herd itself. You won't find the same as what you see with zebras or lions, where there's a dominant territorial male. These guys come in and out of the herd, so you'll find buffalo bulls drop out of the herd and then rejoin again and go in and out. And so at any one time there can be different amounts of big adult buffalo, and they'll then just compete for a female that's in heat at the time. So there can be multiple different males within a herd. It also depends on the size of the herd. Sometimes we'll get herds that are 20, 30 animals that only have 2 or 3 buffalo bulls, or you can get herds that are over 1,000 where there'll be 200 to 300 males that are able to mate within that grouping. So it's very variable depending on the area that you're in. Now, if you look here, everyone always thinks buffalo, big animal, easy to see, but there are 3 buffalo bulls there. I challenge you to spot the other 2. So there are 3 of them. I can see one with the naked eye that's also visible and is watching us very intently. And it just goes to show you how careful you've got to be when you walk around in areas like this. These guys pop out of nowhere, and they have this ability just to sit, and if they hear some sort of a disturbance, they don't move away from it. They'll actually just sit dead still behind a thicket and wait until you come closer. But there is the one on the right and the one on the left, just a little bit to the left. There we go. You can see the back of one. Is that the back of one? No, a little bit to the left there, Zeb. You'll see his leg. There's his leg coming down, and then just behind there is the rest of his body. I'll go forward so we can actually see them. But they are massive, these 3. They are really big guys. So I'm going to try and see. Claire, you want to know if the buffalo have the ability to sleep standing up. Well, Claire, no, not really. They will go into a sort of phase of where their brain shuts down slightly when they're ruminating. Remember, they are a ruminating animal, so things like impalas, kudu, buffalo, when they do regurgitate and ruminate, it's almost like a light sleep that they go into. But most of the time you'll find with buffalo, when they want to rest, is that they'll lie down. They're one of those animals that does lie down very, very often, much like cows. You'll find them particularly at the hot parts of the day, middle part of the day, and even at night. You'll find them in open clearings, and they'll be sitting and just ruminating. Now it's that time of the day where it's starting to cool down, and it's time to start looking for food. They've just come from water. They came from Gallagher Pan side, and they're now heading northwards towards feeding grounds. And I wouldn't be surprised if they go feed around the fire break and then along these drainage sections where it's nice and dense and thick, and they don't have to worry about being found too easily. Remember, when buffalo walk right out in the open, being a big, large, dark animal, they're easily spotted by things like lions. So better to stay in thickets like this as a small grouping to try and stay away from them as much as possible. Francis from Israel, you're wondering where all the females are, given that Byron had all males, and, well, I've also got all males. Well, Francis, what happens with the buffalo herds is that the females generally are in much bigger groups than what you see with the males. So males will spend a lot of time in small groupings like this, either on their own or in 2s, 3s, 4s, and up to sort of 10, 15 is what you generally see as a grouping of males, whereas females are anywhere from 30, 40 individuals all the way up, like I said, to over 1,000 of them. And so what happens with the females is they tend to favor areas where they can get enough food and water, and so they need areas with really good grazing, because what they don't eat they tend to trample, and they tend to have to move quite a bit. And so most of the females at the moment are up in the northern reaches of the Manyeleti, around the central Manyeleti, and then going up north into Kruger where they had better rain. So that's where a lot of the females are. But I surmise that if we're starting to see male buffalo coming into this area, it means that there are herds somewhere close by that these males have dropped off and are now starting to occupy spaces like this. So it's an encouraging sign, and maybe in the next few days or weeks we'll start to see some of the females arriving and some of those bigger herds coming through. This year has been a bit of an anomaly in terms of my time in the Sabi Sands and what I've witnessed. Generally by now we would have seen a lot more buffalo coming through, and particularly herds of buffalo we would have seen coming in the winter months, as the grazing north of us gets depleted, so they start coming down into this area in particular, because there's a lot of artificial water, which buffalo are highly reliant on water, and so they start to move into these areas and make use of the grazing. So it's a little different this year, and hopefully maybe everything's just shifted slightly later and we will start to see the buffalo arriving as they go. And I'm pretty sure these guys are going to disappear into their thicket, and since Byron had some buffalo, and well, I was just very happy to see some, I'm probably going to carry on towards the hyena den and see if these guys maybe pop out there a little bit later. But I believe Byron has got something stripy that he would like to show all of you.
I do indeed. We've got some zebra. Oh, it's also nice to see. It looks like just 2 of them. The other one is just through the bush there. Probably can't really see it. Very well camouflaged. I'm glad Tristan also got to see some buffalo. It is exciting to think that maybe we'll start seeing more of them around. Possibly bring more lions back into the area. And I haven't seen... because we haven't really seen the prides of lions around that often. Last year, in winter, just moving out of winter, we were very fortunate with the amount of lions we had. Again, these zebra, basically in this area where there's been a bit of a cool burn, a fire that or fire break that has been burnt. So there's some nutrients in this area that these animals enjoy, and that's why they're probably around here. And as soon as we get those first rains, you're going to see how green these little belts that have been burnt will become. The green grass shoots will come out almost immediately. It's amazing. That's a lovely view of that zebra. Looks very healthy. Matthias, those are muscle reflexes, like those twitching that you can see. You asked why they're shaking. So it's little reflexes in the skin, the muscle, when the fleas or flies bother them, and they twitch like that to try and get rid of them. So they're able to, I don't know what the correct term is for it. I've forgotten now. I've hit a blank. I can't. For the life of me, I can't remember it. If any of you can remember what the correct term is for that twitching, horses do it too. Some of you have seen how the horses twitch or shake, and it's basically reflexes to get rid of flies and that off of the body. There we go. It's a nice view of that one there. Here, as they're walking, you can just hear them crunching the dry leaves that are all over the ground at the moment that have fallen. Just the 2 of them, as I said. It's not unusual. Sometimes you can just find a zebra by itself, but often they'll be in larger groups. Dazzle of zebra is the name given to a group of zebra. I mean, there may potentially be more in the area, and they just either further ahead in the thicket or around here somewhere. Oh, Ilana, you asked how many different species of grass are there that the zebra would feed on. Well, Ilana, there are a number of different types of grasses around here. The zebra are bulk feeders. That means they generally feed on quite a lot of vegetation to keep their body going. Now, Ilana, there's, like I said, there's a lot of different grasses. There's panicum. There's some grass species that they won't necessarily feed on. Sumbo-pogon they won't feed on. There's what else? There's signal grass. There's Oh, gee, Ilana, you're testing me now with all the different grass species. There is, what else? I mean, some of the thatching grass, I doubt they'd feed on that, not very palatable. So you talk about palatability, Ilana. Now that is how many nutrients the plants and the grass, for example, have in them. Now, because there's so many different species of grass, and some grass have more nutrients than the others, so the zebra, but they generally aren't picky feeders. They'll just move through areas where there's long grass and feed on it. But probably a lot of the there's a Themida, which is very palatable, high in palatability. Now, a lot of the herbivores enjoy feeding on that, so that's a good grass for them to feed on. Themida, I think it's Themida triandra, if I'm not mistaken. That's red grass. So, yeah, that's one of the species that they'd probably choose to feed on. And then probably some of the Panicum maximum, guinea grass, feed on that. Feed on. There are quite a few species. I would say there are probably 10 or 15 very common species of grass in the areas, and that the zebra would feed on. Good question, Ilana. Testing me this afternoon. I like it. Oh, let's see. I've got some answers to the muscle spasms. Okay, Rocky, you say it's called a muscle reflex. Yeah, so that's what I said. It's the reflexes of the muscle. But I thought there was a scientific term for it. Involuntary muscular reaction. Francis from Israel, thank you. That's sometimes also what it's known as, involuntary muscle reaction. So it's all just reflexes, really. Involuntary muscle reflexes that cause the animal to twitch. And but generally the theory is that it gets rid of the flies and that sit on them or that bother them. Now, I'm looking carefully in these trees. I don't know. I'm going to try and find an owl. We were very fortunate yesterday afternoon. Craig pulled off an amazing spot for that African barred owlet, which we heard from quite a distance, and then fortunately we got into the area where we thought we heard it, and Craig spotted it, which was amazing. Very good spot. Craig was very excited. He went, "There it is over there." Alright, now it sounds like Tristan's gone. Sorry, Chantal, just say that again, please. What did you say? Okay. It sounds like Tristan. Oh, there's a squirrel running across the road in front of us. Tristan's just got to the hyena den. I wonder if there's any activity. Let's go have a look.
Well, there is Byron. There's a little sleepy face peering out from behind the tree. Little Ntima is having a very lazy afternoon by the looks of it. And isn't that a happy hyena? It seems to as though it's even got a smile on its face as it lies in the sun. As you can see, it's perfectly positioned that the tree is providing a little bit of shade around the eyes and body in the sun. And there we go. Isn't that cool? Such a beautiful den, this. It's one of my favorite places to come. I really like this den. It's big, it's got shade, and it really is a pretty place to spend the afternoon. I enjoy watching the hyenas in this area and enjoy seeing them on this mound. And hopefully we'll find Ribbon and varying others coming a little bit later, and that will definitely cause Ntima to start perking up and gets into a little bit more of a playful mood. I think it's in all likelihood been playing most of the morning and is now having a serious nap before afternoon playtime begins. Hello. Oh, what's that? Bree, you say smiling. Well, it did look like it, didn't it? The way it was, it's just kind of the jaw was pulled up slightly, that it looked like a little smile on its face. But those look like very tired eyes, don't they? It's almost as soon as the head hits the ground, eyes are closing shut. And are you tired, little one? Has it been a long day? It seems like it. But isn't that just the cutest thing? And this is one of the reasons why I love den sites, because everybody that has the false sort of view of hyenas, this is what you need to see, is a cute hyena like this to just break that sort of myth of them being these horrible sort of creatures that maim and kill and have no sort of soul or life to them. Spending the time around the den and watching little ones has got to change your mind as to what hyenas are and how amazing they can be. I think it was Travi, I didn't hear exactly right, but if it was Travi, you were asking why hyenas change dens so often. Thank you, Chantal, that is correct. You were asking why they change dens so often, and the reason they change dens so often is because you must remember that these guys are not like humans that have vacuum cleaners and cloths and cleaning products that they can clean out their home and make it smell better. These guys, unfortunately, they go into a termite mound and they'll defecate, they'll urinate, bits of meat will be brought back to the den if they're higher ranking, and we've seen bits of carcasses actually at this den site already, and so that will cause a smell to develop inside the hole, and that smell is going to eventually attract other predators, so it will attract things like lion and leopard, and that will make the little ones unsafe. And there's also going to be a really massive build-up of fleas inside there, and potentially mites and ticks and all kinds of things. Remember, when a tick lays its larvae, there's going to be thousands inside there, and so it eventually becomes a place that's just too dirty and too full of stuff to be safe for these little guys, and so they then get moved off onto another den. It also depends on the ranking of them. Sometimes higher ranking individuals will come and take over the den site if it's a favorable den, evict the others. That's not so common, but it does happen from time to time. It's more just that you get a build-up of nasty things and smells, and they then just look for a cleaner area for their little ones to spend their time. So that's why the den does change frequently. But remember that the Philemon's Cutline den was active for about 4 months before they changed it, and this one is already going on over a month that they've been here. In fact, it might have been longer. We only found it a month ago, so you know, they spend a fair amount of time at the dens. They don't move dens nearly as much as what the wild dogs do. So wild dogs, you'll find every sort of 3 weeks they changing their den, sometimes even shorter. I've seen wild dogs spend 3 days in a den and move on. So they tend to have a lot more frequent changes to their den sites than what the hyenas do, but it is a necessary thing to be able to make sure things are clean. So there's the actual den is inside there. Tiffany, you say it looks just like a teddy bear and so cute. Well, that's actually why one of the hyena young ones that was in this area was named Teddy. You named that one Teddy, didn't you, Seb? It was you, yes. And it's because they do look like teddy bears, baby hyenas, particularly when they are still black in coloration. They have that sort of teddy bear look to them, little round ears and this dark muzzle and these cute eyes. So they very much are like little teddy bears when they're small. I wonder if our buffalo are not going to get here, because the buffalo, I'd say probably in walking time, if the buffalo carried on walking, if they would walk here, maybe take them 5 to 10 minutes to get here. It'd be interesting to see what Ntima's reaction would be to buffalo. I wonder if she's actually ever seen them. I'm sure she has, but it would be interesting to know, given that we've had so few buffalo around, what the reaction would be to a buffalo, and see if she would actually sort of have a different reaction to any of the other animals. I've seen elephants around the den sites, and generally what happens is these guys, as soon as they see another animal, they run into the hole and they go and hide away. But Ntima's getting a little bit older now and a little braver, and maybe she'll actually just stop and watch and see what goes on. It would be really interesting though to watch what happens. But that is the picture of happiness right now. Francisco, you're asking if a spotted hyena would be able to have or get into a conflict with a male lion and come out victorious, I would imagine, is what you are asking. Now, I would say no, one-on-one, there's no chance, unfortunately. A male lion is a much, much larger creature, much more powerful, and one-on-one you're going to find a lion's going to win pretty much 99% of the time. But if you have numbers game, if you find that you have maybe 5 or 6 hyenas and a weakened male lion, maybe a male lion that's very old, that's got an injury, then yes, the hyenas can win. But one-on-one, there is no ways ever. It's an animal, like I said, that's almost 3 times the size
of a hyena. So it's really a huge difference in terms of power to weight, and you're going to find that a hyena unfortunately is going to get a hiding from a lion if it's a one-on-one contest. But that's why hyenas are so successful, is that they have this ability to be able to group together and then challenge for carcasses and even dominate lions in some areas. You'll find in some parks in Africa, hyenas are the most dominant species. They'll outcompete lions tenfold, and actually the lions sometimes scavenge from the hyenas rather than the other way around. So it just depends on numbers, and you'll find the more numbers, then hyenas can start to dominate what goes on. And if you go to Elephant Plains and Sabi with that massive clan that they've got there, that clan dominates all the lions. In fact, most of the lions, they get pushed off their carcasses and that clan hunts for themselves, and it's a very different system to what we see here with the Djuma clan, that is much smaller and a lot more intimate, and they have to kind of scavenge a lot more than what we see on the other side. Even though it's so close, those hyenas have somehow been a lot more successful, and I think it's got to do with the lack of male lions that have been around that area for some time. The Majingalans and the Birminghams and the Matimbas didn't really spend too much time in that northern corner of Sabi Elephant Plains, and it allowed that clan to really grow unhindered, whereas on this side, this Djuma clan has had to deal with the Matimbas and the Birminghams and the Majingalans for a lot longer, and unfortunately their numbers just haven't quite grown in the same way.
But it's good to see that at least we've got another one that is starting to continue this clan, and hopefully this clan will get to grow. Unfortunately, we know that two adults potentially from this clan are no longer with us, or at least an adult and a sub-adult. There was that hyena that was around Tamboti Dam that was unfortunately died, and then the Birminghams reportedly killed a sub-adult hyena as well, which I would imagine must be from this clan. So it's going to be interesting to see how this clan does, and ultimately they've had a bit of bad luck, but hopefully they'll start banding together. And every time we see a young one like this growing up, it's always encouraging that the clan is growing and starting to get a little bit bigger. I must be honest, I think hyenas are one of those animals that everybody often overlooks and or dismisses on a safari, but for me they're a vital part of every day. I really enjoy being able to spend time around them and to see them and to watch what goes on with them. They are fascinating species with so many differences to a lot of the other predators out here, and the intelligence of hyena is probably what appeals to me. They are one of the most intelligent animals we've got. They're very capable of problem solving, and if you watch them around other predators, they work things out very quickly, and they almost know what they're doing, and they will use each other to be able to decoy lions and pull lions away from carcasses so that they can feed and all kinds of things. And so that intelligence, coupled with the fact that they have such a socially tight-knit unit, it really makes for an interesting animal to follow and to spend time around. So it's nice that they are on Djuma again. I remember the first month I was here, hyena was just a whisper on the wind. We never used to see them, but now it seems as though they are back in full force, and at least the den is back here, and that hopefully will mean we'll see lots more of the hyenas over the next few months. So I think it's Tora. Sorry, Chantal, I battled to hear you with the name there, but you're wondering. Paula. Okay, sorry. I apologize, Paula. You're asking, how does the hierarchy within a hyena clan work? Well, Paula, basically it's a matriarchal society, so females run the clan. It means that you've got a matriarch, and then below her is multiple other females that fall in a ranking system. The males themselves generally fall right down below even the young ones. They are in no way important other than for mating rights. You find that they get very badly dominated around carcasses, and I've even watched matriarchal females and high-ranking females chasing them off food for the little cubs, so the cubs get a chance to feed before even those adult males do sometimes. So that's how the system works. And then what you'll find is generally, because of the fact that the matriarchal females allow their young ones to feed more than the lower-ranking offspring, you'll find that they'll chase lower-ranking offspring away to allow those higher-ranking females offspring to feed. It gets to a point where they get bigger and stronger quicker, and that means that bloodline generally is the ones that take over and actually compete and make sure that they are the ones that get big enough to stay as the matriarch. So it almost becomes a bloodline. Now Byron, I believe, has got a bird of prey, but we've got a bird of prey ourselves. Actually, it's not a
bird of prey that Byron's got. But our bird of prey seems to be circling away off into the distance, so I don't know if we're going to be able to see it. It's just coming around this edge here, but the wind is blowing it away from us. It looked like a tawny eagle that was flying over. So, well, let's go across to Byron's bird, because I think his is static while ours flies away.
We've got a beautiful lilac-breasted roller, and it's sitting in the afternoon sun, so a lovely view of them. Always nice to see them. I was getting back to the zebra and horse reflex. Stacey, you said it's paniculus reflex. I hope you're right. So paniculus reflex, and Stacey also said your favorite bird is the lilac-breasted roller. So this is just for you. Beautiful, beautiful view of it. Lovely colors. I actually hope it flies for us so we can maybe get a glimpse of that just that lovely turquoise in the wing. There it goes. Oh, okay. It flew the wrong way. It's gone right up to the top of that marula. We're going to carry on. We're going to head down towards Chitwa Dam, see if there's anything around. There have been some elephant tracks around here, and hold on a second, what are these? Baboon tracks, sneaky baboons. Sometimes if you see a baboon track quickly, you only see the front part of the pad and the toes, and sometimes if you look quickly it might look like another animal has walked down the road, but those are just baboon tracks. There's some elephant tracks around here too, but no sign of them. These baboon tracks are actually on top of the elephant tracks, so I don't think these elephants are nearby. Maybe we're lucky and we get some going down to Chitwa Dam or around Chitwa Dam. We'll go have a look, see maybe very possibly a crocodile lying out on the bank. Especially now in winter, those crocodiles enjoy basking in the sun during the afternoon while there's still a lot of light out, warm themselves up. Tristan's still sitting with his beloved hyena. Let's go and find out what they're up to and if he's got anything interesting to tell us, anything more to tell us about the hyena.
Well, Byron, I suppose I've got a little bit more that we can talk about. It's still fast asleep. Little Ntima is taking it very easy. The wind is starting to pick up actually a little bit. I thought it would start dying down by now, but just starting to pick up, and every now and then we'll find Ntima lifts its head to listen around and sniff on the breeze, but otherwise it's all very sedate and very relaxing at the den. It's sometimes quite nice just to spend a little bit of time listening to the sounds of nature, but I think we'll give it another couple of minutes, and if until Ntima carries on sleeping, we'll leave her to have a nap and leave her to enjoy her afternoon. Yes, talking about you. Are you trying to get comfortable, little one? So, Riti, you're wondering when hyena cubs will get the adult color. You can see that Ntima is starting to get very light around the neck areas and the face, and it's starting to get that typical hyena look about it with a darker muzzle and then lighter facial area. And so, Riti, what happens with them is that they start losing that black fur around about 3 months. We start to see there's a fading of that black, and it starts to get lighter and lighter, and spots start to show, and then you'll find that these hyenas will then start to change color, and by the time they reach about 8 months, they're pretty much looking like an adult hyena, except that their fur is still very long and they've got bright dark spots. As they start to get
a little bit older, towards a year, they start taking on more of that form of the adults, and by the time they reach a fully grown adult and where they become part of the sort of breeding structure, and as they get older and older and older, so the spots start to fade, and when you get the very old ones, that's when they take on that much more sort of uniform color without any spots themselves. So they start looking like adults from about 8 months to a year is when they start to resemble adults a lot more, which is not too far away for Ntima. She's now approaching 7 months old, so she's going to start looking like that. Farline, you saying at her age, does she still sit inside the den? Well, most definitely. Still young and doesn't really have the strength to compete with other predators or anything like that, so as soon as it feels like it's scared, it will go running inside the den. It'll also spend most of its night inside there if the adults are not around, so it can fit in no problem. You must remember that even an adult can get inside that den when she gives birth. She'll often give birth to the little ones inside there, so it's got enough space for the adult's backside to go in, and so there's more than enough space for this little hyena. She's still going to get much bigger. In fact, I would say 3 times the size of what she is now when she becomes an adult hyena. So long way to go still, and definitely still small enough to fit inside the den, and sleepy enough to sleep inside the den at this stage. Right, I think we're going to leave little Ntima to her nap. I don't want to disturb her too much. At the end of the day, she's sleeping and there's no adults actually that I can see. So what we'll do is we'll carry on. If we have no luck with anything else around Buffelshoek Dam, then we'll start heading back this way maybe a little bit later, get our infrared out, and hopefully we'll have some of the adults. But it's been nice just to see Ntima, and I'm hoping that she'll have a wonderful little nap for the rest of the afternoon. And if we do come back and they are around, that she'll be a lot more playful than what we see now. It's amazing how playful she's become. We were talking about it the other day, Taylor and myself and Seb and Ali, is that she's become a lot more sort of interested in how the car works, and she'll come along and she'll sniff and investigate and try and see what's going on and bite, and it's almost like she's interacting with the vehicle more and more as she gets more used to it. Oh, we're right there, Seb?
Yeah.
Good.
Big branch coming.
Big branch coming, so a little bump. Oh, forget we're in Rusty again. Oopsie. Now Rusty's clutch and Wendy's clutch are two very different beings, and so got to remember that Rusty, I can't let the clutch out nearly as far without Rusty stalling. So while I try and negotiate this area without stalling and without causing any damage to Rusty's clutch, let's go across to Byron and see if he's had any luck with his crocodiles on the way to Chitwa Dam.
No luck just yet. We approaching almost. If we do 5. Have a look around, see some hippo, see if we can find a crocodile on the bank somewhere. Can you see him there, Craigie? There we go. Just a plane coming into land, I think, at Chitwa. Just going to keep quiet for a second because that plane's about to fly over us. It might be quite loud. It looks so low from where we were sitting, and it flew straight over the lodge, and the airstrip is just behind the lodge, not far. The plane just landed. Lovely view of this fish eagle, beautiful light on it. don't see this crocodile yet. I'm going to try to get a little bit closer to the other side and see if maybe it is out. I'm sure it's basking on the bankers somewhere. Let's go have a look. Definitely.
Yes. Now, unfortunately, Byron's gremlining down towards Chitwa Dam, so he's going to have to fight those off before he gets anywhere. But we've stumbled upon some beautiful ground hornbills. They've landed some in front of us, and then there's one to the right of us. And isn't that beautiful, with the clouds in the background, the dead tree, and our ground hornbill sitting perfectly on top of them. I absolutely love watching these birds. These guys are such amazing creatures. They are unlike most of the other birds out here. They're massive, they're not very well hidden, they're pretty inconspicuous, especially when they sit on trees, but they manage to catch such large items, and that big red facial skin and big beak, it all just makes it quite a sort of intriguing bird to watch. And I love their eyes as well. Their eyes are so expressive. They've got these massive eyes with long eyelashes that they're able to then see the prey items that they go after. Now, this particular bird is a male. We know that because there is no purple in its throat skin. If it was a female that was an adult, you would find a bit of purple starting to bleed into that throat patch. So this is a big adult male that's here. The other two that are off in the distance, I'm not sure as to what they are, because, well, I can't see them from where we are at the moment. So, but isn't that nice? It's about as good a view as we can get of a ground hornbill in a dead tree like that. And like I say, with a bit of cloud in the distance, it's very pretty. And these are the guys we must have heard calling all day. Remember, I was talking about earlier that they were calling and making quite a bit of noise, and I can see they're flying down towards, I wonder if they're not going towards that jackalberry. There they go. Look at that wingspan as they go. Massive. They seem to be spending a lot of time near that jackalberry where Tundi and Tamba were. So I wonder if they're not flying down that way after a brief hiatus from that jackalberry due to the leopards being there with their kill. Now, Mary, you say you love them. Well, Mary, I think you and many others, they are an intriguing species, aren't they? They're such sort of large birds, and they look so different to all of our others that they are very, very interesting to look at. And I can actually see they're all on the same dead tree now, which is going to be really cool. Lorena, you say these birds look so prehistoric. Well, they do, don't they? They almost look like pterodactyls that have come flying down to sort of haunt us. But they are in no way dangerous to us as people, and I think it's just that long beak and that facial skin that gives them that sort of prehistoric look to them. But they are, of course, highly endangered as well, which is not a good thing. They've lost a lot of habitats, and they unfortunately have lost a lot of nesting sites, which has led to many of them declining. Now, hopefully they're going to stay here on this tree because it's beautiful. All four of them are on a tree just to my right-hand side, and I'm hoping, no, don't fly, don't fly, don't fly. Oh no, they're flying. There they go. You can see three of them have departed, and there goes the fourth. And it's just as we broke past the tree line that they decided to fly off. You can hear some francolins are not very impressed by these big birds coming over. Of course, the ground hornbills play not too much threat. What's wrong?
Oh,
So, Ali, you're asking if they like the southern hornbill and that they eat insects. They will eat insects. They have a very, very broad array of food items that they go after. So they'll go after insects, they'll go after snakes, chameleons, tortoises, scorpions, spiders. What else? They've been seen with small mammals like mongoose. They've been seen with small birds. So they have a huge array of food items that they can get. Anything really that they can overpower with that massive beak, they will go after. So they're a difficult bird for a lot of the other animals out here, because it's a bird that's very dangerous to them, and that's why the francolins are alarm calling as they come over, because they know that they can potentially be a threat. So it is a bird that a lot of the others are very wary of, but an intriguing one in that it's able to go after such a broad variety of foods, and even some dangerous ones. I've seen them with puff adders, with mambas, which both are very dangerous snakes and not easy snakes to catch. So pretty amazing that they are able to do that. I remember one time I saw ground hornbills, and a male was walking along, and they often gift to the females, and the male at one point had a chameleon, 2 scorpions, a snake, which was a striped-bellied sand snake, in its mouth, which is the fastest snake that we get out here, and that snake is quick, so not easy to catch. But anyway, it had the chameleons, the scorpions, the snake, and then it managed to get a mouse as well, and they were all lined up in the beak, and it was really quite impressive to see. Now, apparently Byron has fought off gremlins. He's now managed to find a way to get to Chitwa Dam without losing picture, so let's go across to him and see how he's doing at the dam and what intriguing things lie await.
We were hoping to find a crocodile here, but there's no crocodile. I wonder if it hasn't got something to do with this cool breeze. It's quite a chilly wind that's blowing at the moment, but a beautiful black crake. Look at that, those bright red legs and that yellow, almost yellowish greenish beak. It's always nice to see these black crakes walking around. They're quite shy birds, and often in thick, dense reeds and that around rivers and water holes. This one's looking for food on the edge of this dam. There were a few other interesting birds. We'll see if we can find one for you. There's a green-backed heron or 2 around here too. Let's